And welcome back to After Further Review with Coach Heiss Norman. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Coach, how you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing all right. Them lumps on my head, they healing up. I've been putting ice on my head since Saturday. My Bridge and Bass lost to the University of Duncanville, and my Southern Jaguars lost to, as they say, the Jackson State University. And the crazy thing about it, both games were pretty good at the half, and then something clicked for both teams. Like, man, let's stop playing around and let's go head on and win this game. But it was, it's unfortunate both seasons came to an end at just about the same time.
Right. Well, I was getting a little concerned, man. I hadn't heard from you when we going to have to report an MIA report. I was like, man, I said, I know it's rough, but it's like, and your boy, you're going to be surprised at this one, Brother Ben. Say, man, you all got holes at the game, man, with some bad calls.
Hey, man, and my sister, who's Grambling through and through, texted me while I was at Adam's game, and she said, man, it looked like the Stripes making bad calls for the Stripes against the Jaguars. So, like I said, I didn't see it, so I can't verify that, but it must be true if my sister, who I think besides Doug Williams and Shaq Harris, you can't find nobody more Grambling than her.
Well, as a result, and we knew both you and I had spoken about the subject that matter was quarterback play. And you got through this regular season, but, man, that thing coming up biting you real bad in this championship game.
Yeah, and they found out, I want to say Thursday before the game, that Woods wasn't going to be able to play, and I think they thought they had an outside chance. But, with their concussion stuff, as a defense coordinator and a head coach, I always lean more to the side of let's wait a little bit longer with the kid that has a concussion. So, and I know the trainer over there because she was a trainer when I coached at Grambling. But at the end of the day, you don't want to jeopardize the kid, because the kid going 9 times out of 10 say they could play even if they got a bone sticking through the skin. So the head injury is one of those where you think you're okay, and then if you take another hit, it multiplies. It's not just another concussion. It's like you've had multiple concussions if it happens within a short period of time. So, unfortunate for the Jaguars. But the thing about it, if you think about it, that kid really, for all practical purposes, was the third-string quarterback, and you got to go against an outstanding Jackson State defense with the kid that started off being your third-string quarterback. So it's, unfortunate for the Jaguars, and the defense held, I think, as long as they could. But at the end of the day, if you really look at it, and that's me looking at it too, Jackson State, by far, except one game against Grambling, had the best team in the conference. Their team, if you rank the teams in terms of what a good FCS football team looks like, if you take everybody out of our conference, they going to look better than everybody from 1 to 10. And it is not, maybe with the exception of Florida A&M, in my opinion, some jokers that's going to look the way that they look.
Right. And the nonsense that I was hearing at the beginning, we tried to shoot it down from this angle. Well, that's the residue of Deion Sanders' foot. So you don't know the SWAC, and you just don't really know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that was a T.C. Taylor-built team from top to bottom. And it was real refreshing to see the success that he had post-Deion, because no one was giving him a snowball's chance to have even this much success, let alone be representing the conference in the championship game.
And the thing about it, if you think about, okay, look at how many guys that he took with him from Jackson State that end up starting at Colorado the first year. He took two of his sons, Travis, the kicker, who's probably one of the best kickers in the country. He had the running back that went with him, a linebacker, and a couple of those kids have since left Colorado. But, that program was gutted. And then you think even with the transfer portal, the ones that didn't go with Coach Sanders still may have gone to some other FBS programs where they say the Group of Five, the South Alabamas, and the Troys, and played. So that's an outstanding job by those guys to re-recruit kids, develop the ones you had, find a few pieces here and there in the portal, and only lose 2 games the whole season. I think they lost to ULM, and they had a 5-turnover game where Gramblin's defense scored 14 points. So that's and even to come back from that game where it's probably some Jackson people that if they could have shot T.C. Taylor and not gone to jail, they would have done it. To come from there to winning out and beating Southern twice, if you're a Jackson State fan, besides losing to Grambling, you can't ask for much more than that. To beat Southern twice and to beat them in Jackson, shoot, man, they got their Christmas present early.
No doubt about it. So they'll be representing the conference, and of course, they'll be going up against South Carolina State.
Yes.
How do you see this matchup coming out for this weekend, Coach?
Man, you know what? South Carolina State offense is better than most people think it is because, and like I say, here's the difference in quarterback play. South Carolina State quarterback started off with Coach Berry with Benedict. Then he left him and then came back, but he's still running the same offense pretty much that they had. And all the other guys that they got some frisbee catching jokers over there. They got some receivers that can play, and they can run the ball reasonably well. He got an offensive line that pretty much all of them came with him. So I think that's the difference in how he had so much success the first year, even though people were doubting the fact that there's some Division II football players that's coming up. Man, it's a lot of Division II jokers, especially the skill guys that can probably, if given a realistic chance, if they was an inch or 2 taller, maybe 0.4 or point something faster in the 40, that ain't nowhere in the world they'll be at HBCU. That's more a Division II school. So it's something that was a little bit off about them, but they now you can see, all right, these are some good football players, and they got a good football team. So you can't take nothing away from coaching. And you know, I interviewed at a school where Coach Berry was coaching when he was at Southern. I put it to you that way, and he had a saying that I think if I could block them, I think we could have success against anybody. He said that was his big thing. We could block people, we gonna have success, and they got success, and they got an experienced quarterback. Yes, and then Jackson lost their quarterback, the starting quarterback, but the youngster that came in is probably a more dynamic runner, but we'll see how he handles South Carolina State's defense, which they've always been known for having a good defense.
Right. I don't know if Morgan has been cleared to play this week, but I know McDonald came in, like you said, did an outstanding job.
Yeah. So
it'll be good to see. Now, like I say, we get to the point. The only thing I don't like about the current structure is that the MEAC, they got 2 weeks off, and they get to heal up, get to incorporate some twists and wrinkles. And although we got playing mode in our system, coming in dinged up, man, it you know, there's some trade-offs involved. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, as the old saying go, rest versus rust, because sometimes, and it depends on what type of offense you run, whether or not your timing can be off a little bit, especially in the passing game. If you're a running team, time off don't do nothing but help you. But if you're a passing team, they hadn't played in 3 weeks, and sometimes, especially early in the game, you may see some overthrows or guys not on the same page, especially if they run what we call a route read concept, where the wide receiver is reading what he's supposed to do as he's running his route, or his pre-snap read may say cover 2, I run this route. And if he sees something else or thinks he sees something, then they can be off a little bit. But if you're a running team, man, shoot, time off don't do nothing but help you. So it's just one of those. What you gonna get out of South Carolina State passing attack?
Yes, sir. Now I want you to put your defensive coordinator hat on, and how do you minimize both of these offenses if you're on either side of the coin?
Man, you gotta have. I would say you gotta have outstanding defensive line play, which I would give an edge on the defensive line to Jackson State. I would give the edge, because of the way they played, the edge at linebackers to South Carolina State. And the secondary, I think, is tit for tat. I mean, both of them can play man-to-man. If you can play man-to-man against both of those offenses and get pressure, I think you're going to have some success. But the thing you have to think about, both quarterbacks can run. And if the kid that came in for Jackson to finish the game, if he runs, it's a beat you versus kill you type of thing, hurt you versus leave you messed up to where you don't want to play. I think both of them can run above average, but the second string kid from Jackson, if you don't bother him up, like I say, they're going to be playing the fight song more times than you want to hear.
Right. Talking with Coach Heiss Northern, a few days, well, not a few days, but a few hours, if we would, before this Celebration Bowl. I'm hearing you make your analysis, Coach. Is it safe to assume, I know you're a SWAC man, and you like HBCU sports, you think Jackson got a fair chance to win this one, though, huh?
Oh, man, ain't no doubt. As long as they defense okay, I'm going to give them a chance. And like I say, and I'm going to always pull for the SWAC. I'm trying to think, is there any situation if the SWAC and the MEAC was, unless it's got to be one of my tight homeboys that's coaching on the MEAC team that I would not pull for the SWAC. And, it might be one of them games where I might pull for my homeboy team to play well but still lose, one of them type of things.
Right. Consolation prize. I got
you. Yeah. Look,
this
is what we do when my son play baseball, and especially when they get into their tournament play. And if they have to play on Sunday, I'm like, look, I sort of hope they lose, but I just don't want to be his fault that they lost the game.
I do understand that, sir. I do understand
Yeah.
that. Well, look, Coach, when you looking at all this, what do you see as the let's say the secret weapon for each team?
Oh man, Jackson State got a punt returner that's special. I can't think of his name, and he can run back kicks. But I think if they let him, he can flip field position.
Okay.
And I think the hidden key for South Carolina State, to be honest with you, is going to be their secondary. I like to say, I think their secondary has some pretty good guys in it, but I think the hidden key really is going to be the return game of Jackson State.
Okay. So we'll be, as I say, looking out for that. I want to bring up a quick mention, and I got to because of just who it is. It absolutely has nothing to do with SWAC nor HBCU. But what is your response to Mr. Belichick taking the University of North Carolina job?
Hey man, there was a surprise. I was actually, and I've been out of town with my dad. We've been hunting for a couple of days, and the reception was, as they say, poo cheese. But as we were riding back today, I'm listening to satellite radio, and they playing his press conference, and it was surprising to me when you heard the rumors that, hey man, this might happen. My thought process was, he is doing this to gauge and see, is the NFL team going to say, hey man, don't take that college job, because in 3 to 4 weeks we going to offer you our head coaching position. Okay. It is a total surprise, and he mentioned that his dad coached there when he was a little boy. When I say little boy, elementary school. But
Right.
that is a total surprise. Now, one of the things that he is going to think that because of his mind, he might not need the best players, but he's going to get some of the better players because some of those guys are going to say, man, if I'm going to the NFL, that's a guy that can get me ready for the NFL. And they may, with the transfer portal, you'll see some jokers going to North Carolina that you normally wouldn't see. I tell you, somebody that better be worried out of their mind is them jokers in Tallahassee, Florida, at Florida State University. Any school in the ACC that's struggling but have good players, don't be surprised if in the Big East, don't be surprised if some of those guys on those rosters end up saying, I'm going to go try to play for Coach Belichick for a year or two.
Well, I think it's part of a three-card Monty act, and I'll explain what I mean. I think he took this job to show NFL teams that he can still relate to the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same breath, I think he's trying to set his son up. So in the event that he does get that offer, he can vote out and keep his son in position to kind of keep the quote-unquote family legacy going on.
That makes sense, too. And you talking about relating to young people. I think I saw something they say Bill Belichick's girlfriend is about 26 years old. So that ought to tell you something about being able to relate. But at the same time, hey, if you got a couple $1 million in your back pocket, you can relate to a whole lot of people.
Look, sugar daddies they all around and waiting for the opportunity. And I don't even know if he got enough blue vitamins to keep up with a 26-year-old, but that's
hey, man.
Not mine.
Hey, that's relating right there. But it's just one of those things where it's gonna be interesting to see what his team looks like in 2 years. If the portal is hitting North Carolina, man, if I was him, I would have tried to see was it some kind of way I could get Michael Jordan at that press conference and showing off my Jordan brand gear. Lawrence Taylor, who went to school there. Right. Look, I coach this guy. Don't you want to be the next LT? You know, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to have a good chance of working, but at the same time, it can be one of the worst moves ever made, especially if he only stays a year or two.
Well,
the Joker's 72 years old.
Right, but if he's there past 2 years, it would be an absolute miracle to me. It would be an absolute miracle. I think he got some unknown exit clause that we're not privy to just yet.
Mm-hmm.
And in the event an NFL job come a calling, but $10 million a year, guarantees not a bad come up, huh, Coach?
Nah, I tell you what, I take it in. And my pride wouldn't pray that I get fired, but if I get fired and they still owe me some money, look, I tell you somebody that's happy right now, that doggone Jimbo Fisher. It's close to the 15th. Shoot, Texas A&M about to still drop him a check off.
I know that's right. Yeah. And now there was talks about Jimbo resurrecting somewhere, but I personally thought that the Jimbo Fisher thing was a bunch of hype. And like I said, I hope this is not the case for Belichick, but we'll find out. And before we lead this, do you think Deion stays in Colorado?
Oh man, that's a tough one right there. I think at least one more year, depending on what happens in college football. I don't think he's gonna go to the NFL, but I think his out is both of my sons and Travis going to be gone. So thank you for the opportunity. But I think, as he said, I'm not going to say it. Because I'm going to just say he can use those three being gone as his out, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And last but not least, former Alcorn offensive coordinator, Prairie View head coach, FAMU head coach Willie Simmons has accepted a new mission, an assignment, if you would, Florida internationally, returns back to his home state. Nice payday. He's gonna be landed for what 4 years or so. What's your outlook on that?
I think that's just a step in a direction that he wanted for his life, to be a Power 5 head coach. Like I say, he started off at Middle Tennessee and worked his way to the HBCU world, got out of there, and within a year, he is a Group of 5 head coach. So everything fell in place for him. He has ties to the state. He won at Florida A&M. I think that was one of the draws of bringing – you got a young guy, and when you had a program like that that's been struggling, they figure bringing in a young guy, you got to be young because they're going to work you till your fingernails fall off. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of the draw, along with the success that he had. And he is seeing that, man, if I can get this to a 7 and 8 win ball club on a regular basis, which, you know, I guess some people thought it was going to be a little bit easier than it had been. I think he can see, if I can do this, then my next step may be Miami, Florida State, you know, Florida's, you know, somewhere else, maybe a lower level Power 5 or Power 4, whatever they call them themselves now. But I think he sees that as a step in the right direction of where he wants to be.
And my final question for this segment, Coach, the House just sent the clearance in, and to be quite honest, the way I'm viewing this and the way the tea leaves are lining up, from my understanding, this NIL and this opt-in deal is a setup for failure for those who are left behind, i.e., I'm not going to put it on HBCUs, but FCS programs. This thing is setting up for a disaster, man.
So give me a few more details, because I am not clear exact. So are they saying you can give NIL money, or are they saying that some schools going to be able to give out NIL, and then some people, they basically going to cut you off at cost of living like that?
Right. Well, what's happening is with the proposal, you're going to have to opt in that you're going to commit to $20+ million for NIL. Okay. Come on, man. You can probably add 3 or 4 of our programs in our conference that don't even have $20 million combined for their entire budget.
The entire budget, yeah, that's going to be as they say, a hard no for a lot of schools. So, like I say, the big boy is going to be almost like a conglomerate, as they say, where it's only going to be a couple people that's going to realistically have a chance to win. And then one of the things, like I listen to sports talk radio sometimes when I'm driving, and they were talking about how did Indiana get so good so fast. And Indiana has one of the biggest, quote-unquote, collectives in all of college football. So now you can see how you could turn the program around if you got the right amount of money behind. You got a decent coach with the ability to go out and buy you some good players. Shoot, man, and a good thing about Indiana, they didn't have the toughest schedule this year, and it's not like he's going to just say coach at Florida. I can see his face, the young guy, my homeboy coaches at the University of Florida, Billy. But it's not like he's going into a murderer's row conference. If you could win at Indiana, you didn't have to play Ohio State and Oregon, then you're going to have a good chance on most years of being successful just because how the schedule played out. So, I mean, that money, if you got money, man, and you can buy players, and don't talk about if you could buy you some good ones, man, you better look out.
Right. And for the record, I believe that Indiana is going to handle Notre Dame when they meet up in their bowl game. And that's the old saying, Coach, money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a few wins, huh?
Hey, man, it can buy you a whole lot of stuff. Like say, you might be miserable, but you can have a whole lot of stuff that you think you want.
I know that's right. Well, Coach, I'm glad you made it back safe on your hunting trip. I got one problem, though, Coach. You might as well get it out there now, man. You didn't come back with no burritos, man.
Hey, so it take a minute to go from on the ground to it's a process, as they say. You got to trust the process, Coach. You got little faith. You're not trusting the process right now, man.
Is that code for that I'm greedy and I need to wait my
Nah,
turn?
man. Look. When I pull up to this place, the guy's like, "Man, you came all the way from Texas to get these burritos made." And I tried to get my wife to get, it's some equipment that I can get, but man, after we looked at the prices on the grinder, the vacuum sealer, and all that, man, we might as well start a small restaurant. But we debating on because I know the guy told me how to make them. But I tell you what, sooner or later, or before Christmas, I'll make sure either me or my son get you some burritos up there.
Oh man, look, I'm like old boy, rest his soul. Put some hot sauce on my burrito.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, man, we're looking forward to our recap for next week after this weekend's event, man. And like you said, glad you made it back safe. And tell your son if he can look himself in the mirror and know he did the best he can, that he never loses, man. He never loses.
Yes, sir.
And appreciate you and appreciate those who are listening. Don't forget, you can follow me on Twitter X at The Mike Prince Show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And don't forget our 24-hour stream at obnradio.com. And until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.